When most people think of the Hawaiian Islands, they imagine white, sandy beaches, turquoise blue water, sipping a Mai Tai while watching the sun dip into the horizon. Well, there's more to Hawaii than just its sand, surf, and the Aloha spirit. Spirits of a different kind may occupy the Hawaiian Islands. Most visitors don't know about Hawaii's haunted history. Do you like listening to spooky stories while huddled around a campfire? Do you want to learn about the haunted hotels and the restless spirits still roaming the halls? Or why it's believed whistling at night attracts spirits of the dead? Come join me, Uncle Jared, as I cover these chilling tales on my podcast, Ghostlore of Hawaii, Paranormal Paradise.
So what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Jpc Frequency Podcast. This is episode number 8. And today I'm excited. I finally get to interview somebody that I've been trying to for a while, Uncle Jared.
Hey, how's it going?
Man, it's going great. So Jared runs an awesome podcast called the Ghostlore of Hawaii, Paranormal Paradise. Great idea and a great name, brother. How you doing?
Oh, thank you. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Of course. Cool story about you. When I just joined Instagram, literally I'd been without social media for a while, like 7 years.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, you know what? I want to start a podcast. My friend's like, you got to get social media, bro. You have to. And I got Instagram, and I remember liking all the stuff that I like. No Sleep Podcast.
Yeah.
I know we're both fans of that.
Yep.
And I believe that's what brought you into my radar, because then I started seeing, and it was right around the time you had just started this.
Yeah.
And I remember reaching out because I listened to it and I thought it was so cool. And you were really cool because you reached back out. So from the jump, from the beginning of your podcast, you've always been very, all about your fans and all about people like your listeners. You've been very engaging with them. And I thought that was really cool from the jump, man.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I owe a lot of that to kind of how I was treated. Like when I first came in, for example, Shelby Scott of Scare You to Sleep. Like I reached out and said that she was a big influence, and then she threw my trailer in front of one of her episodes, and so she was very big on kind of helping brand new people out, So after she did that, I was like, wow, that's really cool. And so anyone that reached out that, I try to talk to everybody on social media, whether it's comments or DMs. So and I always wanted to like be the same way, like offer that help and answer questions or
pay it forward a little bit.
Yeah,
that's real cool, man. And I know I've was just listening to some episodes where you had mentioned them. I think that's cool that y'all's community that you've built.
Oh, cool.
So,
yeah, it's weird because it's like, if you think about it, it's not, it's not competition, but it's like you're in the same field, but it's super supportive. Everyone is trading promos and highlighting other podcasts in the same field. It's a super supportive community, which I wasn't expecting when I first started.
So do you get a lot of people that'll reach out to you and be like, hey, Jared, love what you're doing, man. Let's link up or.
Yeah. And there's a lot of opportunities to do cross promos and be like guests on podcasts like this. And so there's a lot of, opportunity. And it just kind of, snowballed from when I first tried it. So
that's awesome, man. Yeah. Cause like I'm starting to notice that now, even with my podcast. At first, I found it intimidating to reach out to somebody and say, hey, can you sacrifice, maybe 45 minutes, an hour of your time? I run a small podcast. But everybody I've done so far has just been awesome. You included, and I know we talked about it a few times, but I had to kind of reboot my podcast and find my direction. And
Yeah.
so we started around the same time, but I took a long hiatus, did some restructuring, I guess, if you will, and just started it over. But I always rocked with you, man. You've been putting out great content, ready for season 3.
Thank you. Thank you.
But yeah, let's get into it. So let's take it back before you started. Did you have any prior knowledge of recording audio or anything like that, production?
No, not at all. Pretty much, I was just learning as I went. I knew how the type of podcast I wanted to do, like storytelling with music and sound effects, and so I knew the vibe I wanted to set. And from there, it was just really YouTube videos and trying to figure out how to craft the best sound quality, and then where to get songs to use. And it's step by step. I just kind of slowly learned and did the first episode, and I was just gonna put it out there and do one every couple of months or something. But then I got a lot of feedback from it, and I was like, oh, okay, there's an audience for this. And so as each episode came out, I kind of learned a little bit more. So the production gets better, as the seasons go on. So I'm still learning too. So
yeah, it's like you learn a new trick every once in a while, watch a new video. I was the same way, bro. That's crazy. It's funny to hear that. Like, we're just kind of winging it.
Yeah,
learning how to do the audio.
Yeah.
Well, you've done a hell of a job. The way you said it, you mixed that music in there so well, man.
Oh, thank you.
It's I wrote this down. It's immersive. It brings you there. I feel like I'm on that beach with you. Get my green bottle ready.
Yeah, and I almost, when I'm like editing, I almost try to do it like it's like I'm editing to a song, like I'm editing a song. So I'm like try to time it so like when the beat drops for the song, I'm like ending a passage, or like try to edit the words to the song. So like let the intro of the song kick in a little bit before I start the like the story part of. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah. So you're like planning even that intricate into it.
Yeah.
Just that's super cool, man.
Yeah, I mean that's why it takes me forever to drop up. I mean, it takes a long time for me to edit, but it's the part that I enjoy the most.
Yeah, the editing part.
Yeah,
it's so fun, man.
Yeah,
it used to be tedious to me, but now I kind of find it. It's like it's just fun. Where I can make cuts and stuff. Me with adding the extra video layer, that's the one that's like hit or miss.
Oh yeah,
so.
That's what's preventing me from really diving into like the YouTube side of things. Like right now, I just have my audio posted on YouTube, just because it's one click through my host and it sends it out there. But if I could do videos or even animation, that would be cool. But that's a lot more work.
Yeah. Hey, and I don't think you're far away from that. I'm pretty sure you keep at it. You can always add those in later and whatnot. And you're doing it smart, man. You're putting your podcast everywhere, even YouTube. Because I mean, for the most part, I don't really find myself watching the video much.
Yeah.
I'm usually at work or doing something, walking my dog, and I got the audio. So at the core, this is about the audio.
Yeah.
And you're killing it there for sure.
Thank you.
I am going to get into, of course, the ghost lore and all the fun stuff. Yeah. But for me being a nerd and trying to like learn as much as I can with it, I want to get some of your production stuff.
Yeah.
So let's go through a typical just episode, from research to even planning it before then to it being uploaded. How long does that usually take you, and what's that process like?
So when I did the first season, it was really just write the story, edit, put it out. And I had no clue what was coming next. So the first season, it was a little sporadic, just kind of, it was really, I really just dove in, and that was a little chaotic. So the second season gave some time to sit down and do research and write the stories before I started to record and edit. Season 2, I was able to release on a pretty much bi-weekly schedule. And so it was a little bit more organized. So preferably that's what I like to do is, pick a bunch of topics that I'm going to do for the entire season, and then kind of decide what order. And then from there, sit down, research, write the stories, then record, and then from there I start to edit the audio and start to set it to music, and then add the sound effects, and then publish.
Nice. So you got a pretty good flow that you built up over time, just kind of starting to add things on.
Yeah.
Do you use certain softwares? I'm curious because I see a lot of stuff that you can use online, plugins or anything, or you kind of use, for me, I'm using a Final Cut Pro.
Okay.
What kind of software are you using?
I use Reaper. And that again was just a bunch of researching, and it seemed like the best fit for what I was looking for. Even cost wise, it's pretty affordable. So from there, I just chose Reaper, and there's a lot of YouTube videos that kind of explain best way to clean up the audio, and then how to do basically anything. Because I believe Reaper's you can use it for music too, like music production. So
nice.
If it's just cleaning up the audio and editing, like I'm editing a song, like I mentioned, it works out fine for me.
Cool. Has everything you need in it. Not too fancy.
Yeah,
it took me a while with Final Cut to kind of, I had to watch countless videos, and I'm still a novice.
Yeah. I mean, Reaper has everything plus more that I've ever needed. So I haven't used any, outside apps or programs or anything besides Reaper for the editing. Yeah. And then my mic, I was just searching cheapest mic with best quality. And so it's a pretty standard or pretty well-known bang for your buck mic. And then eventually I'll upgrade, but it does what I need it to. So
yeah, it gets the job done.
Yeah.
I went in and I was doing my research. I was like, oh, what mic does Joe Rogan have? Type that in. Got this one. Yeah, they are a lot. I love it. I mean, if I take care of this thing, it's going to last me a good while, and it gets the job done. The rest of my mics, I'm trying to get a 4 mic setup, just so that way when I do on location stuff, I used to share mics, like pass it between 2 guests maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a couple like $100 mics. The Rode Pod mic works pretty well for me.
Nice.
But yeah, so that's some of your gear that you're using, and I think that's cool for listeners to hear, is just how some of the things that they can research and that's at their disposal. Because I know you said it's for Reaper, it's pretty cheap or inexpensive.
Yeah, I think it's like $60, and
oh wow, it's
a life. Yeah, there's no monthly subscription or anything, and you can do everything with it. So it takes a little bit to learn, like all things, but I love it.
Cool little learning curve. Yeah, you're right. Most of them take a few weeks to kind of get into.
Yeah.
Well, all right, man. I did want to focus a little bit on the research part. And the reason why is because not only is your podcast spooky, that genre, but it's also educational, man. Like, I don't expect to just learn something, but I do. I learn some of the languages there and just like the culture. And it's real cool that you bring that in. So when you're doing this research, a lot of it comes from just like, did you grow up there?
Yeah. So cool. I was born and raised there. I was born on Maui, but moved to the Big Island when I was 3, and so most of my time was on the Big Island. But had grandparents on Maui, so visited. That was pretty much second home. So I grew up hearing a lot of these stories. I talk about this a lot, but I feel like majority of people in Hawaii believe in ghosts because I guess it's so ingrained in the culture and all the other cultures that, moved to Hawaii during the plantation days. Like all of their cultures are very spiritual and have a lot of, lore. And so I think the combination of all of that kind of amplifies like how many people actually say that they believe in ghosts, because I feel like all my friends growing up, I had aunties, uncles, like they all have ghost stories, and so it's super common.
Yeah, that's it's a different type of culture, with that spirituality. Being Hispanic, it's kind of like that more on the like religious side, angels, demons, kind of that spectrum of it. But it's cool to see that. God, I didn't know that about Hawaii, and I did listen to a little bit of your other interviews that you did, and they kind of brought it up too. Is like when you think of Hawaii, paradise,
Yeah.
The first thing that doesn't pop in your mind isn't ghosts. So it's crazy to hear that, and those stories they've been passed down for generations. It's just cool.
Yeah. And so, yeah, like I said, so many people have experienced something paranormal. And even one of my high school teachers, he was from the Midwest. And he said all his life he never believed in ghosts, but after moving to the Big Island, within the first 2 years, he experienced unexplainable things. That after that first 2 years, he's like, yeah, I totally believe. I'm a believer now. So, and he was telling us this in high school, and that always stuck with me.
That's cool, man. And that's actually one of the questions I had for you. So it's a good segue.
Yeah.
So is there one particular time or story that you personally experienced that you were like, yeah, I believe in this stuff now?
Yeah. So I would say it's the first experience that I had, like firsthand, not through a story, where I witnessed it and I was really questioning and really, tried to figure out what is happening, and I had no explanation. So it was when I was about 15, 16 years old. A friend and I were sneaking around in a graveyard. And this is actually episode 2 of season 1. I talk about this, but
I was like, oh yeah, this sounds familiar.
Yeah, we were walking around in a graveyard at night, and we were pretty much right in the center of the graveyard. And out of nowhere, we just start hearing a low groan, like someone groaning, like that. And I was like, oh, that's one of my friends playing a prank. But then more and more of those voices started groaning or moaning, and it literally surrounded the two of us. And so we hear these groans coming all around us, and this is like, late at night. There's no way someone would be able to coordinate something like this, where there's like 40, 50 voices all around us. And it's not like pitch black, the moon is out and you can see all the gravestones, and there's nobody there, just me and her. And so there's no electricity, there's no speakers or anything. Like I just could not figure out.
Like you were trying every single way to
every single way
debunk it. Like there's nothing.
Like
you couldn't do it, huh?
Yeah. And that was the first experience where I was like, it scared me, but so we sprinted out of the graveyard and back down to the main convention area. Yeah, to this day I have no clue what that could have been. After that same summer, I started having 2 or 3 kind of weird things happen to me after that incident. And so I was wondering, like, is it like a puberty thing, like where you hit a certain age and you start to experience more things like that? Or is it just a coincidence that summer I had a few incidents? I don't know. It was really weird that it was all clustered in that time frame.
So you said 3 more around 3 more experiences after that one that you were just like unexplained.
Yeah, within a couple of months.
Wow.
Yeah, I talk about a few of them. I don't know if it was in the regular feed or if it was a Patreon episode, but yeah, there was a few other instances that summer. I'll definitely make episodes for it though if I didn't talk about it yet.
As far as the stories that you're collecting, a lot of them are personal. Whenever you're looking other stuff up, are you getting a lot of things from Reddit, or where are you getting a lot of these stories from? Yeah.
So, like you mentioned, a lot of them are personal. Some of them are stories that have circulated in Hawaii. So it's like a well-known, tale. There's a series of books, written by, his name is Glenn Grant. He passed away in the early 2000s, but he has a series of books called, like Chicken Skin or like Obake Files. Obake is ghost, like that's how we say ghost in Hawaii. And so his books deal with all these supernatural, hauntings or firsthand experiences. So over the years, he collected all these stories and made these books. And so a lot of the stories that we know come from his books and his TV specials and stuff. So some of the stories I talk about are like Morgan's Corner, The Faceless Woman. Those are all, well known in the community. So some of those are stories that I grew up listening to. And then some stories people send in, like they'll email me and I'll turn it into an episode.
That's real cool, man. What inspired you to start Ghostlore? What was it, your personal experiences, or had you always been fascinated with that and wanted to do something with it?
Yeah, I was always interested in I like horror movies. I like that feeling of getting scared. So I started listening to podcasts through like No Sleep. That was the first podcast that I started listening to. And then from there, I kind of started searching, true crime and paranormal. And that was the main genre that I would listen to. But I found that there wasn't a lot of stories from Hawaii, and for how common a lot of these stories are, I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, there's got to be, some podcasts covering it. And there were a few that you would mention, like the Night Marchers, or have stories based in Hawaii. But a lot of times it's they butcher the names of like places or of the gods, or it's just kind of butchered, and it makes it difficult for me to follow. When I'm like, what place is that, or what are they saying? And so I was like, I think people would be interested in this, and I can pronounce the places correctly, and I grew up hearing these stories, so that's kind of what pushed me to get it started, was that there wasn't a lot out there. And so it's cool when I get messages from people in Hawaii that are like, who love the podcast because they were looking for the same thing, and that's something that's super cool.
That's awesome, man. So they appreciate the accuracy. And you're funny, bro, because in your episodes, I love it when you do the comedy. It's well balanced with the comedy, but I know it's just you and you're performing the voices.
Yeah.
But you're able to show us what it's like whenever somebody mispronounces something.
Yeah.
I think it was what was it? 2 or 3? No, Pele's Curse.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where he's like essentially reading the letter,
yeah.
and he's like reading it as the gentleman that had sent the letter in, and mispronouncing everything, and like he's having to correct it.
Yeah,
that's funny.
I kind of, throughout the first season, I feel like I was kind of still figuring out the tone of the podcast, and so it does. I started to throw in a little bit more humor, as the episodes progress, and I do some of these like background commentary throughout the episodes, and I got a lot of feedback that people like the commentary. So it's I started throwing more of that in, and figured out like, oh, that's a good way to define Hawaiian words or pidgin words. So if there's ever a time where I'm telling a story and there's a Hawaiian word in the background, I'll kind of give the definition like super quick, as like a kind of background commentary. So that's kind of how it's evolved. And but yeah, it started out of trying to inject some humor into the episodes.
Yeah, I mean, it works. I'll be listening to your episodes later at night, or when I'm walking during the evening, going through the woods. I like listening to scary stuff in scary places, I guess.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
But so you and No Sleep, I'll have you guys on. But when I'm listening to yours, that humor kind of brings me back a little bit. All right, I feel a little bit better. It's kind of like when you watch a very scary movie and you got to watch Family Guy afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool. And another cool thing about that is you're actually looking at your fans' feedback and responding to it. And it's positive. That's really cool, man, because hey, it actually added a function to your podcast. It works, because that's another thing that I had written down in my notes is the commentary. Not only is it funny, but the way that you are helping people like myself pronounce these words. You're actually teaching us essentially another language. So we'll know a lot of words before the end of your episodes.
Yeah, I try to do that and include, historical facts or tips. If you're a tourist, try to, don't touch the turtles, or, don't litter, obviously, don't take sand or rocks home. And so I try to casually slip these in just so, if you've never been to Hawaii, you'll, pick these things up, through the podcast. And so, yeah, I try to teach as much as I can and without it being too boring.
Yeah, you found a way to balance everything. You keeping it at its core. It is about the lore and about the spooky stories, but adding everything in, especially the commentary, which is hilarious at times. I caught myself just laughing. I forgot what episode it was where he gets broken up with, and you just say Tina in the background.
Yeah, I think that's the Pele's curse too.
Yeah, it's the same one.
3. Yeah.
That's funny, dude.
Thanks.
Well, all right. What else did I have here? Oh, another. Okay, so this is something that I wanted to talk about. I thought it'd be fun.
Yeah.
The UFO episode.
Oh,
Are
yeah.
you a believer?
Oh yeah, I definitely believe that. I mean, we can't be the only intelligent life out there. Like, there's no way. And so I right now, with the whole UFOs, it's tough for me to say if that's actual aliens or if that's secret technology that either the US has or other countries have. That I'm not sure, but I definitely think that there's something out there. I do believe that.
Yeah, like these sightings there's something. They're catching something.
Yeah.
And you called it out. You're like, hey, with these, where we're catching it on our cell phones, it's never going to be the most reliable footage, which is crazy though, because nowadays, your cell phone's better than cameras that they had, 20, 30 years ago. So it's still one of those things. It's a mystery. It's fun to talk about. And I'm with you. We can't be the only beings out there.
Yeah. But yeah, I love all that stuff. Any UFO videos or, paranormal videos, like I love all that stuff.
Oh yeah. Were you pretty stoked whenever they started releasing all the, when was it? They released it? Was it during COVID?
Yeah, it was like 2020. I think June 2020. Yeah, I was stoked. I didn't read any of it, but I
know, me neither.
I let other people summarize it for me. But yeah, I was excited. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, hey, at least they're admitting something.
Yeah.
But did they?
Yeah. I mean,
they're like, hey, these are just videos.
Yeah. But they also, more stuff's coming out about like the secret organizations that they had, to track or to keep an eye out on UFOs and stuff that they've denied in the past and are saying that that was true. So yeah, I love all that. Oh yeah,
and I watched that Bob Lazar documentary you talked about. That was a good one.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
So we talked about UFOs. We know your history with these events that happened with ghosts that kind of solidified your belief in them.
Yeah.
What other type of paranormal stuff are you into? Like chupacabra, monster stories, things like that?
Yeah. I'm into like all the cryptozoology. Like, I don't know. I'm not a skeptic. Like, I'd rather be someone that's like more objective. Like I'm not looking at a video. I'm like, oh, that's fake right off the bat. I look at these videos and I'm like, oh, what could that be? And so I love all those creature videos, ghost videos. The type of videos that I almost dismiss immediately are any like surveillance camera videos. Oh, this mysterious creature, and you see something walk by the camera, or like, oh, this person vanished out of thin air and it's like a Ring camera. I'm like, those are so glitchy, to begin with. I'm like, it's just a glitch. So I don't get excited seeing those, but all the found footage type stuff, I'm a sucker for.
So what is a cryptozoology?
It's like, like Bigfoot, Chupacabra, like all.
It's like the technical name for that.
Yeah, it's like I guess what they classify these, like Loch Ness, all those creatures that there's not really any scientific hard proof about them, but there's still like classifications for them and descriptions of them, and so it's like, I guess, the study of that.
That's crazy. So look at you coming on my podcast and still teaching me something. Yeah. Cryptozoology, word of the day.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool. So yeah, it sounds like you're into similar stuff. That's probably why we resonated with the No Sleep podcast. Man, what do you think of their new season?
Oh yeah, I love it. Yeah, and they were another podcast who helped me out a lot too. Like Alex, who's over there, she reposted when I first dropped my first episode. They like shared on their story that, you know, a fan of the No Sleep podcast just came out with their own podcast kind of a thing. And so just right from the get-go, they were super cool and helping promote that. And so I think a lot of it, I got lucky, you know, where with these big brands that shared. And yeah, sorry, that was kind of just a little rant. Not rant.
No, that's real cool, man.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that. I was like, dude, this guy's so lucky he's getting. But that speaks to them. Like that entire podcast. They're another one that's like yourself. They listen to their listeners. They're always taking feedback.
Yeah.
And you could tell. I bet you David Cummins is just like a teddy bear.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they're doing an awesome job out there. But yeah. Hey man, I'm having fun.
Yeah, me too, man. I appreciate you having me on here. Because I've never really done an interview talking about the behind the scenes stuff. So it's cool, but I'm not an expert, but it's fun to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just for my benefit. I like to go back and listen to these and be like, oh, this is kind of how he did it, and I think the viewers will appreciate that as well. So
yeah, and you don't have to have a background in audio production or there's everything's online and you can just kind of teach yourself. And yeah, that's what's cool about podcasting right now.
Yes, sir. Well, all right, man. I know we talked a little bit about the podcast and everything. I want to get some more behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Are you working towards being a full-time podcaster?
Yeah. Like right now it's mostly like I'm pretty much a full-time podcaster. Like that's the majority of, what I do. And then I do some coaching at a gym. But it's pretty much what I do right now. So I could definitely make more money, additional money, but like I'm good right now. And yeah, it's
that's cool, man. Yeah. Cause you got, the merch going, the Patreon, which of course, when, I'm going to have your links everywhere, but
oh, thank you.
That's pretty dope, man. Yeah. And I'm actually going to, speaking of the merch, I am going to order I saw the bucket hat. I got to get me one of them.
Cool.
Probably get my wife a shirt, and yeah, I want to support any way I can.
Yeah. Thank you.
Especially since, you're doing me a pretty big favor, just being a guest and whatnot. But yeah, man. So you said you're a coach, huh?
Yeah. So I did.
Big fitness guy?
Yeah. I mean, the past year or so I've been really hitting it, and got out of a relationship, and you go on that junk food binge for a while and then you tighten up. So I'm in that workout mode right now, and so I coach at a gym, and yeah, so those are the two main things going on, is the podcast and the coaching.
So how you liking that?
I like it a lot. In a past life I was a sales trainer, so I kind of did a lot of that standing in front of a class anyway. So I kind of took that and, took that experience, and now I coach at a CrossFit gym, and I like it. It's cool to see the progression from people, even in just one day, seeing how their lifts improve or, their mobility. So I like that side of things.
That's cool. That's a really cool combo, bro. Podcaster, coach.
Yeah. So
yeah, man. Whenever you're working out, what kind of music you listening to?
Usually like hip hop, or I like trap. I like those are the two main ones that I kind of blend together in playlists. But it has to be more.
I could tell your posts. You always have some hip hop. I was like, hey, this guy's into hip hop. That's cool.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite rapper?
Oh man, I really like A$AP Rocky. I like a lot of his, like, he's very experimental on his sound. I mean, kind of generic answer, but Kendrick.
One of the GOATs, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it kind of varies. Vince Staples, I like Vince Staples. I kind of hop around.
Yeah, I've been listening to Smino, and then somebody named Mick Jenkins. Those are the most two recent I've been listening to, and it's kind of underground hip hop.
Yeah,
which I don't know how they're not bigger, because they're great. But yeah, you should check them out, man.
Yeah.
If you're a hip hop head.
Yeah, I like. I like the creativity of like. Even Tyler, the Creator, he's very, the style changes a lot, like the music changes. Like, I like that experimental type of, not the, I mean, they're mainstream, but it's different artistically, that the creative side.
Yeah, you like a little bit more sauce on it, not just your normal, verse hook, verse hook.
Yeah.
I like beat changes and stuff like that. So that's cool,
Yeah.
man. Growing up in Hawaii, did you listen to a lot of hip hop?
Yeah. I think Tupac was the first CD. The first CD I got was was a Tupac CD. And so it was like more of that mainstream, like, because I feel like, and this is not a diss on Hawaii, but like the exposure, especially back then, it's the internet wasn't like everywhere, and so it's the exposure to music from the mainland I felt like it took a little bit more time to hit Hawaii. So like I didn't know a lot of the old school artists back then. It was like the Jay-Z's, the Nas, the Biggie, Tupac, those were the ones that were really accessible, I felt like. And so a lot of it was more of that Hawaiian local music, because that was what was on the radio stations. There wasn't any hip hop stations growing up. So, but not until I was in college, I feel like. So it was, I think, exposure to hip hop I didn't really get into until I was in college.
Okay. Yeah. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I never really think about that. So, back before everybody just pull up their phone,
yeah,
it was hard to get that exposure to all like different music and whatnot. So
it's either what we see on TV or in the know and you're buying the CD.
That's awesome, man. Got some good music you listening to, so that's real dope. I was going to ask you, what other hobbies are you into outside of your podcasting and your training?
Yeah, I do a lot of hiking. I used to camp a lot, like backpack a lot, but I moved cities about a year ago, and so now I don't have any of my camping gear. But I used to camp a lot. I like a lot of water activities. I miss the water a lot, the beaches. So anytime I can get on the water, lake or river, I love that. Cooking, I like to cook. I like to eat. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can cook, huh? You're chefing it up?
Yeah, I was actually in the industry, and right before COVID, my dad and I were about to open up a restaurant. We were like down to signing the lease and everything, and then COVID hit, and it was like, oh, we kind of got out like right at the perfect time before like everything shut down. And so that would have been tough, like real tough. So it kind of worked out where right after that's when I started the podcast. So
that's how life works sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's pretty cool. So you and your pops were what kind of food were you going to cook? Like some
like Hawaiian plate lunch style food. Like,
oh, nice.
Yeah. I was in the restaurant industry for maybe 10 years, maybe even longer. Like in high school, throughout college, and then I wanted to be a chef at a restaurant, and after college just got burnt out and so left the industry and got into sales and kind of did the corporate thing for a while. And then went back to the restaurant industry and then podcasting.
That's quite a journey, going from
zigzagging
culinary. So wait, were you in school for that?
No. I fell in love with it while working in college. So I had a job as a dishwasher, and then I was like, oh, I want to get into cooking. And so I worked my way up to like a line cook, and then climbed my way up to basically second under the chef. And I was cooking all the meals, and I love being a line cook, that even the food prep and everything. But then I just got burnt out. I was like, I'm not going back into the restaurant industry unless I'm owning my own thing. I was just tired of working for other people, like in the restaurant industry. My dad always wanted to open one up, and so eventually that's what the route that we were taking, but it just didn't work out.
Well, hey, it's never too late. Maybe one of these days, once the podcast blows up,
maybe
go and open a restaurant.
That's a ton of work, man. It's a ton of work.
Well, thanks for sharing that. That's super dope. And it sucks that it didn't get to happen, but hey, silver lining, the podcast is definitely taking off. I want to be able to give you a second to plug everything. Let's talk about season 3. When are we gonna get that?
So I'm shooting for I want to get the first episode out by the end of May. I have one more episode that I'm working on for Patreon that I'm dropping, and then right after that I'm starting that first episode. So I already have the topic, I already have the the story, so it's just the recording and editing. So hopefully by the end of May.
Awesome, man. We're looking forward to it, and I'm not really wanting you to rush anyways, because I like the time you take. The product that you make, it just comes out great. So
thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing. Where can everybody find you at? I want my listeners to be able to listen to all your podcasts, shop. So if you don't mind dropping some plugs.
Yeah. So the podcast Ghostlore of Hawaii, Paranormal Paradise. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, basically everywhere that you can find a podcast. It's on there. Or you can go to ghostloreofhawaii.com. I usually have all the links for merch, for Patreon in the show notes of every episode. And for Patreon, if you don't know, it's just like a membership based program where you get extra content, so extra episodes. And that's at patreon.com/Ghostlore of Hawaii.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll provide your links here and in the show notes.
Thank you. Oh yeah, and Instagram, ghostlore.of.hawaii.
Heck yeah, man. Your Instagram's funny. You are the king of the dad jokes.
Yeah, I try.
Well, damn, man. I wish I would have had a fire. I might put some fire crackling in the background.
Yeah.
Get my green bottle.
Yeah. Yeah. People love the paranormal pakalolo and the green bottles, and yeah.
So a pakalolo, that's just another word for it, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. For listeners who don't know, they can Google it, but it's pretty
it's hilarious. I started calling it that now. All right, Jared. I want to thank you again for stopping by the pod and sharing some of your stories, behind the scenes look at Ghostlore of Hawaii. Yeah, man. Anything else you want to say?
No, other than thanks for having me, JP. It was we were talking about doing this probably about a year ago, I think. Mm-hmm. And then everything happened, and it's good to be on, good to connect.
Yeah, man. I'd love to have you back on. So, but anyways, everybody, anytime. Thank you for listening to the Jpc Frequency podcast. Peace.